Have you ever noticed something unusual about INFJs? They care deeply. They love intensely. They understand people in ways most never will. Yet, they almost never chase anyone. Not in friendships. Not in relationships. Not even when they truly care about someone. To some people, this can look strange. It may seem cold. Or distant. Sometimes even arrogant. But that is not the truth. The truth is much quieter. INFJs don't chase because they notice things others overlook. They feel emotional energy. They read intentions beneath words. They sense emotional distance long before anyone speaks about it. And once they realize someone is slowly pulling away, they rarely run after them. Not because they don't care. Often they care very deeply. But they respect something even more powerful. Emotional truth. They believe real connection should never feel forced. It should never feel like a competition for attention. And it should never require someone to beg for presence. So if you have ever wondered why INFJs step back instead of chasing, why they quietly let people go even when their heart says stay, then this reflection into INFJ psychology may help you understand. Because behind their silence is not indifference. It is awareness. And a quiet decision to protect something very important. Their emotional energy. 1. INFJs value emotional reciprocity. One of the deepest reasons INFJs do not chase people is their belief in emotional reciprocity. To them, connection is not about effort from one side. It is about shared energy. Energy that flows naturally between two people. INFJs are known for giving a lot in relationships. They listen carefully when someone speaks. Not just to the words, but to the emotions behind those words. They notice small emotional shifts. A sigh that sounds heavier than usual. A pause in someone's voice. A subtle sadness hiding behind a smile. These small signals rarely escape an INFJ. They also remember details that many people forget. A dream someone mentioned weeks ago. A problem someone quietly shared. A memory tied to a certain place. For INFJs, these details matter. Because they show care. And this level of attention is natural for them. Their personality type is deeply connected to empathy and intuition. But as they move through life, INFJs slowly learn something important. Not everyone gives the same energy back. Some people enjoy being understood, but they rarely try to understand others. Some people accept support, but they rarely offer support in return. And when INFJs begin to notice this imbalance, something shifts inside them. They become quieter, more observant. They stop reaching out as often, not out of anger, but out of awareness. They do not beg for attention. They do not compete for affection. Instead, they step back and watch the connection carefully. They ask themselves a simple question. Is this mutual? If the answer is no, INFJs rarely try to force balance. They simply allow the connection to fade. Because to an INFJ, love, friendship, and emotional connection should never feel like chasing. It should feel like walking toward each other at the same pace. 2. INFJs sense emotional distance early. Another powerful reason INFJs do not chase people is their strong intuition. INFJs are often described as highly intuitive personalities. But this intuition is not mystical. It is psychological awareness. They are extremely sensitive to emotional patterns. They notice when someone's tone changes. They notice when enthusiasm disappears. They notice when replies become shorter, or when conversations feel less alive. Many people overlook these signals. They assume everything is fine, or they wait until the problem becomes obvious. INFJs rarely miss these early signs. Their minds constantly analyze emotional patterns. This ability comes from their dominant cognitive function known as introverted intuition. It quietly gathers information. It connects small signals. And it forms a deeper picture of what is happening beneath the surface. So when someone slowly pulls away, INFJs feel it almost immediately. Even when nothing has been said out loud, they notice the emotional distance. And once they notice it, something inside them becomes very calm. They stop trying harder. They stop pushing the conversation. They stop filling the silence. Instead, they observe. They watch how the other person behaves without effort from their side. Not with bitterness. Not with resentment. But with quiet acceptance. Because once INFJs sense emotional distance, they know something important. Chasing will not restore genuine connection. It will only create pressure. And pressure rarely brings people closer. 3. INFJs believe forced connection never works. INFJs understand something that many people only realize after painful experiences. Connection cannot be forced. Love cannot be forced. Respect cannot be forced. And appreciation cannot be forced. This belief deeply shapes how INFJs approach relationships. If someone truly wants to stay in your life, they will stay. If someone wants to talk, they will reach out. If someone values the relationship, their effort will show. INFJs pay close attention to behavior. They listen to words, but they trust actions more. Words can sound beautiful. People can promise loyalty, affection, and commitment. But actions reveal the deeper truth. Consistency reveals the truth. Presence reveals the truth. And when someone's actions slowly show disinterest, INFJs notice. They may feel hurt. They may feel confused for a moment. But they rarely argue with reality. They do not chase after someone who clearly does not prioritize them. They do not try to convince someone to care more. Instead, they quietly redirect their energy. Because forcing emotional closeness feels unnatural to them. Real connection must be voluntary. It must come from genuine desire. Otherwise, it loses its meaning. 4. INFJs protect their emotional energy. INFJs experience relationships in a very deep way. They are not casual with emotions. When they care about someone, they care intensely. They think about that person often. They worry about their well-being. They analyze conversations. They replay moments. They invest emotional energy. And this kind of emotional depth can be exhausting, especially when the energy is not returned. Over time, INFJs begin to understand something important. Their emotional energy is limited. They cannot give endlessly without becoming drained. This realization changes how they approach relationships. They become more selective. Much more selective. They choose carefully who they allow into their inner world. Because vulnerability is not easy for them. Opening up requires trust, time, and emotional safety. So when someone begins treating them like an option instead of a priority, INFJs quietly take a step back. They rarely create drama. They rarely make loud announcements. Instead, they slowly withdraw their emotional investment. The messages become shorter. The effort becomes lighter. And the connection slowly fades. Not because INFJs stopped caring, but because protecting their inner peace becomes more important than chasing someone who does not value their presence. 5. INFJs have a strong sense of self-worth. Many people misunderstand INFJs. They assume that because INFJs are sensitive, they must also be insecure. But sensitivity and self-worth are not the same thing. INFJs may feel emotions deeply. They may spend time reflecting on their own flaws. They may question themselves more than others do. But deep down, many INFJs understand something clearly. They know what they bring into people's lives. They bring empathy. They bring loyalty. They bring emotional depth. They bring honesty and thoughtful understanding. These qualities are not common in a world that often moves quickly and speaks superficially. INFJs know that genuine emotional presence is rare. And because of that, they rarely feel the need to chase validation. If someone cannot recognize their value, INFJs usually accept that reality. They do not beg to be appreciated. They do not try to prove their worth. They simply understand that not everyone is capable of seeing what they offer. And that realization makes letting go easier. Because an INFJ would rather experience solitude than remain in a connection where they feel unseen. 6. INFJs fear emotional manipulation. Many INFJs become cautious because they have experienced emotional manipulation before. Their empathy attracts people. People feel safe opening up to them. People feel understood around them. But sometimes this kindness attracts individuals who take advantage of it. People who seek emotional support without offering it back. People who appear vulnerable but use that vulnerability to control situations. Over time, INFJs begin to recognize certain patterns. Hot and cold behavior. Long periods of silence followed by sudden attention. Emotional dependence that feels one-sided. At first, INFJs may try to help. They may try to understand. but eventually they notice the pattern repeating. And when that realization appears, something inside them changes. They become guarded. They stop chasing. Because chasing someone who manipulates emotions only deepens the cycle. Instead, INFJs slowly detach. The distance grows quietly. And once they detach emotionally, reconnecting becomes extremely difficult. 7. INFJs prefer deep connections over many connections. INFJs are not interested in having a large circle of people around them. They are interested in meaningful relationships. Quality matters more than quantity. One deep friendship can be enough for them. One genuine romantic connection can feel more fulfilling than years of casual dating. Because INFJs crave depth, emotional depth, intellectual depth, spiritual depth. They enjoy conversations that explore ideas. They appreciate silence that feels comfortable. They value moments where two people understand each other without many words. Chasing people rarely leads to this kind of connection. It often creates shallow interactions, temporary interest, conversations that stay on the surface. INFJs can sense when a relationship lacks depth. They feel it in the tone of conversations. They feel it in the lack of emotional curiosity. And when they feel that emptiness, they stop pursuing the connection. Because their inner world is searching for something more meaningful, something genuine, something mutual. 8. INFJs believe the right people stay. One quiet belief guides many INFJs through their relationships. The right people stay. INFJs spend years observing human behavior. They notice who shows up consistently. They notice who disappears when things become inconvenient. They notice who remembers them during quiet moments. And through these observations, they reach a simple conclusion. People who truly care do not require chasing. They naturally remain present. They reach out without being asked. They create space in their lives for the relationship. INFJs deeply value this kind of effort because it feels sincere. When they meet someone who offers this kind of presence, INFJs become extremely loyal. They invest deeply. They protect the connection. But if someone does not show that effort, INFJs rarely try to convince them to stay. They allow distance to happen naturally. Because forcing someone to remain in your life never creates genuine connection. 9. INFJs process emotions internally. INFJs process emotions in a very internal way. When something hurts them, they rarely react immediately. They rarely express anger in the moment. Instead, they withdraw into reflection. They replay conversations. They analyze tone. They examine emotional patterns. This quiet analysis helps them understand what really happened. It allows them to see situations from different perspectives. And during this reflection, many realizations appear. They recognize when a connection was never balanced. They recognize when someone slowly stopped caring. They recognize when they gave more than they received. Once this clarity arrives, chasing feels unnecessary. Because they already understand the emotional reality. And for INFJs, understanding truth matters more than maintaining illusions. 10. INFJs believe silence reveals truth. INFJs have a deep respect for silence. They understand that silence can reveal things words cannot. When you stop chasing someone, their true level of interest becomes visible. If they care, they will reach out. If they value the connection, they will notice your absence. If they want the relationship to continue, they will make effort. And if they do not, then the silence provides the answer. INFJs trust this process. That is why they step back instead of moving forward. Because silence removes confusion. Silence removes pressure. And what remains is the truth of someone's intentions. To the outside world, INFJs may appear distant, but their silence carries meaning. They are not chasing because they are observing. They are noticing energy. They are protecting their peace. And they are waiting for something rare. A connection that does not require pursuit. A connection that feels natural. When an INFJ finally meets someone who shares their depth, everything feels different. There is no chasing, no confusion, no emotional imbalance. Both people simply move toward each other. Slowly, calmly, naturally. And for an INFJ, that quiet harmony is worth waiting for.